Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had an actually pretty good 2012 NHL draft. We took some pretty good steals that will be on our NHL lineup next season. We also drafted some guys that should be in our team in a season or two. So I'm very excited to see what the future of this team entails. Now, some of the guys that we drafted in last episode include Chase Cameron, who we drafted with the 5th overall selection. Excited to see what this guy could do. He's pretty much going to be a better version, I think, of Sam Gagner, and Sam Gagner has been fantastic so far here, so I'm excited to see what Cameron could develop into. Obviously, right now, he's probably going to be our second-line center already, which is kind of insane. We also did draft this guy in Kenny Marcoux, who was a pretty good steal in the early second round. He'll likely be like a fourth-line center for us right out of the gate as well, so hopefully those guys get a lot of development and can be pretty good for us down the road. Also, guys like Burmistrov and Hodgson are getting a little bit of growth, which is good to see because that gives us more depth down the middle. We also drafted a couple other good pieces. Most of the rest of them, I think, were unsigned guys still at the moment. We did draft Nail Yakupov in the second round, which is awesome. So we do have a solid shooter prospect. Hopefully we could develop him into being something good for us down the road. I don't think he's going to get his ELC right away, but I think I'll wait and see first and foremost if I should give him one or not. Like, he could technically play in the AHL already, I think, just because in this game, for some reason, in Custom League, it allows like guys from the CHL to play in the AHL right away. So I could give him an ELC, but I'm not too sure if I should yet. I might look a little bit into that first. We also did draft guys like Brock McGinn, for instance, Cody Ceci. I think there was also, this Dolan guy who's a medium four. So we're definitely drafting a lot of prospects that have promise for our team. Colton Parayko as well on the defensive side of things. And then goalie-wise, we do have Andrei Vasilevsky now as a goalie prospect, which is very, very exciting. So a lot of stuff to build upon, and hopefully we continue to do that this season. Hopefully it's not another good year. Hopefully it's a good year for our young guys, but hopefully altogether our team doesn't do good enough to make the postseason again. And hopefully we continue just to pick up more prospects to surround the guys with that we currently have, so we could have a really good roster on paper down the road. But anyways, we have $38 million in cap space to spend. There was no comments really in the last episode about who to sign and all that, so we are probably just going to have to make some decisions on our own, which is not too bad of an issue, because I do have in mind who I think I want to sign to those cap oil contracts. I do also think we might already give some of the contracts to those RFAs just so we can kind of get closer to the cap floor. So I think we're already going to give Brule like basically what he's asking for. 2-year deal at 2.375. Let's just give it to him already. And then Sam Gagner, obviously, we aren't too sure still about Sam Gagner if he's like part of the long-term future here, just because Cameron definitely could outdevelop him. Now, Gagner could be a very nice second-line center to have behind him, is the thing. So maybe I still look to sign Sam Gagner long-term, because we were in a little bit of a negotiation process with him. He does not have a lot of organizational interest with this team, which kind of sucks, but if he wants a contract, basically the first 3 years would have no clause involved, so maybe we could do this type of deal for him, and then we could trade him before the end of year 3 or something like that of his contract, so that way we don't have to deal with his no movement clause. So I might be actually willing to give him this just so he could be our top line center until Cameron's ready to take that jump. And hopefully we can move him away before it turns into a no movement clause. So I think I'm already going to give Sam Gagner this contract. It might be a bit controversial of a contract, but like I said, if we could move him out from him before that turns into the no movement clause and Cameron can be ready to go, I think that's an okay thing. If not, Gagner could be a good second line center, and at this price point, I don't think it's the worst contract in the world, so let's just give him what he's asking for as well, since we do need money to be spent on this team. So that would knock us down to preferably around, I guess, maybe around like 20-something million in cap space, like 29 million still. So we do still need to sign some cap oils, which is unfortunate, but we are going to have to do that. So I do have some players in mind to sign, which are some younger options that I saw when I was just looking through this before I started recording. So the first one is a young right defenseman, that being none other than Adam McQuaid, who's only 25 years old, so he kind of fits into this like kind of rebuilding team process. He's not going to become much of anything, but he's still a solid shutdown depth defenseman kind of idea that could be in our lineup next season and also could be trade bait down the road. So I think we're going to take Adam McQuaid and we're going to give him a 1-year deal like he's asking for. But obviously, I'm going to be paying a lot more than he's worth on this contract just to try and get us to that cap floor. And we're also going to sign one forward as well to give us just a bit more depth in a sense too. So 1-year deal, $8 million for Adam McQuaid. I know it's an overpayment right now, but it's more just to make us cap compliant. Obviously, it might be hard to move him away, but we could always retain salary for the year or something like that because it's not for multiple years. So that should be fine. We're also going to go ahead and sign ourselves a forward, and that forward is going to be another younger option just because I do like signing younger options when we're kind of doing rebuilds. We're going to be signing Trevor Lewis. Now, Trevor Lewis was with the Kings last season. He played 2 years or 3 years almost, I guess, someone's in the AHL. Got called up this season, was relatively good, but the Kings already let him go, which is kind of surprising. He did win 2 Calder Cups in the first 2 years of this franchise mode, almost won a third, so he does have that championship kind of experience in a bit way, even though he's a minor leaguer. Good face-off stats, good defensive stats, so I think he could be a solid bottom 6 or depth option for our team, so we'll sign him up and we'll give him like $6 million at the moment as well. And those are probably going to be our only signings that we make as a team. Just because obviously we need to try and get ourselves to that cap floor, which we should be pretty close after we have those 2 RFAs signed, I would assume. Like if we go to proposed trade right now, probably Riley Nash, lost morale because we signed Trevor Lewis just because they're both similar players. But right now we're up to $39.35 million of those signings. We should be closer to that floor with the 2 RFAs signed. If we need to sign more, we will do it. But I don't really like having to just kind of sign a bunch of guys to outrageous contracts just to stay cap compliant. But that's kind of what we have to do here because there's no way else we're going to be able to bring in a lot of money unless we traded for somebody with a huge cap hit. But that make your team way too good. So with that said, I think there is not much else to do before we start simulating. I think we needed to do some off-season focuses on our younger guys for sure. I don't think we needed any coaches, correct? Just got to double check on that. Also, I got to double check our scouting. So our scouting, we could still upgrade on some of our scouts, but I don't think it's necessary right now. I mean, it could be. I'm going to look into the scouting pool just in case. Our coaching is fine. So let's go and see if there's any good scouts out there that have A ratings. So there's a few of them. So we will sign, I guess, a couple of them and get those reassigned at the start of the season. We might not even simulate any of the season in this episode again, just because we might look through every team's roster again, just because it's kind of fun doing that every single season, at least in the early stages. So we'll sign all these A-rated scouts, and then we will make sure to reassign them. So let's go and fire 6 B-rated scouts, basically. Or lowest end scouts, actually, for that matter. So we'll fire you. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. That's 4. 5. And 6. Perfect. Alright, so now we should be able to have our scouting pool a little bit more upgraded because we're going to basically be doubling up our A-rated scouts, which is good. So that's all good and ready to go. Let's do some off-season focuses. We're not going to do it on every single player again. We're just going to focus on some of the younger guys. So, for instance, Jordan Eberle is one of those type of guys. I want to try and get him to being better and better offensively every single year. So, let's try and get him to get his awareness up there more. You know, it's probably already up there. Maybe I should try and get him to get his shooting attributes up there at some point. But let's try and get some of these guys to keep growing because obviously we're a young team. Development is important at this stage. That's why I'm showing you guys all this. If we were a team that was already trying to contend and all that, and we were an older team, probably wouldn't be as important. So let's just try and get like guys like Petrie better offensively, even though he's a defenseman. Who else have we got to get? I guess some of the younger guys that we just drafted, like Cameron, for instance. So we might as well go for Chase Cameron. He is pretty good at a lot of different things already, but I could try and get him to be better at face-offs a little bit. I feel like that's always a thing for younger guys. Like, he's got 79 on face-offs, I think, right now, which is not terrible. But I am going to try and get him to be better at face-offs already. Just to try and get him ready to win face-offs in the NHL level. Like, if he could become a 55% face-off guy at some point, that'd be fantastic. So, same goes with Marcoux. They're both young centers, so we might as well try and get them to improve as much as possible in that face-off dot. And then maybe we could have some future Selke winners on our roster, which would be good. So we'll do that. Aside from that, I mean, Carl Hagelin, I guess, could get some. Let's see. Let's just try and get him to be a little bit better offensive, even though I think he already is pretty good offensively. We'll just try and get him better, just because he's going to be making the NHL probably this season, which is kind of exciting. Aside from that, I mean, Justin Falk, I guess, since he's going to be making the NHL, we might as well try and get his offensive game better too. So let's go with awareness as we typically do, because awareness is usually what I do for most of these guys, unless they have, like, they need to be a better shooter as a sniper, that type of thing. So, all right, anybody else that needs one here? Probably not. I mean, we could do Sam Gagner once he's under contract, I guess. Gustav Nyquist, I guess, technically would be one that should get some focus. We'll probably go shooting based on him, just because I know his shooting is good right now, but it needs to be NHL ready. So we'll try and get him to develop into being a really good shooter for us. I think he's more of a playmaker, though, so it might not make much sense, but that should be good at the NHL level. I could look through the AHL as well, but I just don't like going through the AHL as much because it takes so long. But we will just see if those guys develop it all on their own for now. And I think that's probably it. Okay, I think, yeah, we'll start advancing here. See if our RFAs accept, see if we're cap compliant. If we are, obviously we'll simulate to the end of the month and see what free agent signings and trades go on this off season. So let's advance the day, see what we got here, see if our RFAs accept as we are starting to get in those new scouts. So welcome aboard to all 6 of those new scouts to our organization, as Pittsburgh's willing to give us a second and a third to get a third and a sixth and Ryan Jones. I don't really want to move out from Ryan Jones yet, but that's kind of an interesting deal, I mean, because technically we get like an extra we move up from a 6th round pick in Ryan Jones basically into a second, which is pretty big in terms of that. The thing is, the picks that we'd be sending to Pittsburgh are for not next year, but the year after. So we're going to decline that, but it is kind of an intriguing offer, to say the least. All right, so there's another scout involved. Looks like Sam Gagner. Sam Gagner has rejected the contract extension that we just gave him. Consider boosting the cash and getting back to me. Well, I'm giving you literally what you were asking for, as Brulet's on board, so that's at least good. But yeah, we need to continue to negotiate with Sam Gagner. I don't know why he's being a little bit of a stickler, but he is. Let's see if we could try and renegotiate. Literally, I'm giving him what he was asking for. It's just his organizational interest is low. So, can I enter negotiation and try and sell him a bit more on our organization? Let's see. Let's just try and go neutral into this conversation. Don't need to charm him. Let's try and share why the organization is good to him. Let's tell him about the market. Let's see. I've got my sights set and plan on like a large market, but I'm open to your perspective. What's the pitch? I think there's other elements that are an organization that might be more appealing to. Should we play that? Let's try and persuade. It is risky, but let's just try and persuade. It's really tough to get his organizational interest higher. Let's just go team status. He wants to be on a team that's really winning games already. You know, I want to get out of this negotiation thing, but I have to stay in it now. We'll do the 7 years you're asking for. But let's go continue. Let's improve offer a little bit. Increase salary. Let's increase the salary by $1 million. I don't really know what I'm even doing in this. Yeah, let's add that no movement clause. Full no movement clause. Yeah, that would be good. Final offer. Let's do it. I don't even know what the heck I'm doing in this because I never use this system, but it's probably the same offer that he just rejected. So we might have to still work on him a little bit, but it's a little annoying that he's being like this right now. Because you think he would want to be that top line center on this team, but seems like he wants to already go to a team that's doing better. He's just tired of losing after just one season, which is kind of bad. Let's see. Are we getting any accepts yet, Sam? Because I need to know. I need to know before I offer you another contract. Looks like still nothing's going on. All right, let me go back to the contract thing. Maybe that even doesn't even give a contract. Let's go back to RFA's offer contract again. Yeah, I don't even think that offered him a contract. Let's try and get this a little bit higher. Let's go with 6.75, 4 to 7 years. So we are offering him more money. Like he wanted, we could always up it more. But I just need Sam Gagner to accept at this point. And like I said, then we could deal with trading him away at some point eventually. A third and a fourth, and Ryan Jones for Jake Muzzin in a fifth. That's not a bad offer considering Jake Muzzin's a good defensive prospect. The thing is, I don't really know how good he is. He's already an 82 at 23. That would make us way too good right now, to be honest. Damn. He's actually an NHL defenseman already. That's a pretty interesting offer. Not gonna lie. Carolina doesn't have the cap space to re-sign him, I feel like. So that's why they're trying to offload it to us. The thing is with Jake Muzzin is he makes our defensive core kind of too strong right now. Because if we look at our defensive core, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We could use another defenseman hypothetically. Chorney could be still at 7th. Huh, you know what? I think actually I might do a deal like that. That actually could work. But I don't really like giving up picks when we're trying to rebuild. That's the thing. We do need another left-handed shot, hypothetically, too. Trying to think if it's reasonable. Trade for his rights. Get rid of Jones. Jones is not a bad player, but he's not going to become much better than he currently is. But I do not like giving up a third and a fourth rounder. Basically, we're moving back into the draft to get a better player right now. I don't want to move draft capital at this point. Jake Muzzin's kind of interesting, but I just don't think I want him on our team. And Gagner's still rejecting. Goddamn, man. I don't know what's going on with Sam Gagner whatsoever right now. Because I thought the negotiations would have been a lot easier right now, but they are not. So let's try and get him up to a 7 by like 7.25, which might be an overpayment, but it should be still a movable contract if he accepts. I just need to get him on board, and then we'll deal with him after eventually. But this is a tougher negotiation than I thought it would be, especially with all the cap space we have left. So will Sam accept finally? He rejects that, does not like the contract clause, doesn't meet his needs. Well, you're literally asking me for that type of clause there, Sam. I hope we don't get stuck with him being an RFA all year. Let's retry this again. 7 years. We're offering you like over $7 million at this point. We're going to do 7.5. I know we're overpaying on him right now, probably too. But he's been our best player, so losing him and letting him just sit all year does not sound like a fun thing to me, to be honest. So I just want him under contract. That's all I want. But we might have to move out from him beforehand. And he's still rejecting. Come on, Sam. What the hell are you asking for? I feel like it's the clause that's causing an issue right now. Like maybe this is a bug more than it actually is. Let's see. RFAs. We might have to wait till the start of the season to try and sign him. It's maybe because of that organizational interest. Let me change this to a full-on no trade clause instead of a no movement clause. And we'll once again go $7.5 million. Come on, Sam. We're literally offering you so much money here, bud. And you're literally going to be our superstar player this season and for the next few years before Chase Cameron takes your spot. Because I don't think I want you long-term if you're going to act like this, man. I just don't. He's taken all this time and he's still rejecting. People are gaining morale because he's getting offered a contract, but then he's not signing it. So it's like, bro, like this guy's literally letting his team down. I don't think I could trade away his rights this offseason. I could hypothetically, but I don't think I mean, it wouldn't be a worst case scenario because we could use Cogs still down the middle at some point too. But Cogs isn't a good face-off guy. Like, I don't really want to have Brule as a top-line center right now. Cameron would be a good top-line center to have, but right now it's his rookie season, so I don't really want to put that pressure on the guy. So, I'm going to still try and offer Sam some money and see if he keeps on accepting. If he does not, we might have to wait till the start of the year to actually get him under contract. Would you take a 7-year deal at $8 million with that no movement? You literally want a no movement. You don't have interest in our organization. So I am very confused. But we'll try this again, Sam. We'll try this again. We only have a few days before we'll take a look at some free agent signings and any off-season trades so far. But Sam Gagner is being a douche. And he decides to reject a 7x8 too. I think there's literally a bug going on right now, and I don't know exactly what it is. Because it might be the clause. Let's go back into that contract negotiation screen thing again and see if we could get him sold on the organization again a little bit more. Oh, his contract dropped off now to 4.975. Like, is his organizational interest so low that he would not accept any of it? Like, I don't think I've seen it before. Let's try and go to negotiation again. Can't sell him on the organization anymore. There's only two way. Goddamn, man. I'm just going to offer him what... It's only the 1-year deal now. It's not even multiple years. So I guess he's realizing that he wants to be here short term, which is probably for the best. So let's just give him the 1-year deal that he's asking for. We'll see if he accepts that. And we'll see if we're cap compliant at that point. But this is definitely the toughest negotiation we've had in a while. Let's see. And he is rejected again. The money is not offered enough. So we will have to offer him more than he's asking for. But we will just be giving him the 1-year deal. We aren't giving him that 7-year deal he was originally asking for. Just because, yeah. Right now it seems like he does not want to be here for the long term. Which is unfortunate, but it kind of makes sense. I guess maybe since we drafted Cameron, it's kind of pissing him off a little bit. So let's give him a 1-year deal and give him a nice $6 million contract still for the 1 year. And he better accept that. He better. All right, there's only a few more days left in July, so we will take a look at some signings here shortly. And he's going to still reject $6 million. Come on, Sam. Literally all your teammates are gaining morale because you're getting contract offers, but you're not accepting. All right, so we'll take a look at some free agent signings now since we've wasted an entire month trying to negotiate with Sam Gagner here. I wonder if that's what happened in real life and why he was moved out so early from Edmonton, but this is a lot earlier than I was anticipating. So let's take a look at some signings. Let's start off first though with trades just to see if there's been any offseason movements. Shane Morrison got dealt, or Sean Morrison, I don't remember how it's pronounced. He gets dealt to Colorado. From Ottawa, Colby Armstrong with Jay McKee going to Calgary from Toronto. So some solid trades, nothing crazy. In terms of signings, this should be interesting to see where people have gone this month. Hedberg going back to Pittsburgh where he was in the early stages of his career, so that's cool. Actually, I think he started his career in Pittsburgh. Aside from that, any interesting ones? Sean Avery to Buffalo, Guerin to Detroit. A lot of goalies signings. Not going to really read out all of them, but if I see any crazy things, obviously we'll bring them up. If you guys see anything that I don't mention, just let me know. Tim Gleason signing him in Calgary on a 4-year deal. Sullivan going to Dallas. All right. Carcillo to Buffalo. Damn, Buffalo brought in Carcillo and they brought in, who was it? Did I mention earlier? Oh, Sean Avery. Carcillo and Avery on the same team will literally be an absolute nightmare. I'd literally want to scream. Those two guys are very aggravating. Shane O'Brien in Boston. Samson out of St. Louis. What else we got? Yannick Hansen to St. Louis. Matt Karkner also went to Buffalo. So Buffalo literally brought in Carcillo, Avery, and Matt Karkner. Are they literally building a team from the 1990s and 80s and stuff? Like, that's a lot of physicality. Like, Buffalo should be one of the least disciplined teams in the NHL at the end of the season at that point. Rafi Torres going to Nashville. Eves to the Rangers. Hensick to Calgary. Looking for crazy signings. Jeff Finger in Ottawa. Like Rupp to LA. Purcell to St. Louis. Any crazy signings? Barrett Jackman, Anaheim. I think his brother used to play in Anaheim for a little bit, if I remember right. Marco Sturm going back to Boston again. Colton Gillies in the Islanders. Slater to Philadelphia. Pascal Dupuis goes to the Rangers. He actually was a Ranger for like a brief bit, if I'm not mistaken. So, that's interesting. Looking for any crazy ones. Ty Conklin to New Jersey. Jason Blake signs with the Ducks. I think he was already there at the start of this franchise mode, though, so he just re-signs with them, I guess. Looking for a crazy signing. We know there was big free agents. Doug Weight also going to Buffalo, so Buffalo, despite being as low as they were in the standings, they decided to add quite a bit of veterans, it seems like. Maybe to surround their young guys with, I'm not too sure, but Doug Weight goes there. Let's see. Anything else? Looking for a crazy signing, and so far I'm not seeing anything. Marcel Gosch going to Pittsburgh. He was there actually in real life for a little bit, so realism there. Shane Doan going to the Ducks. That's kind of a crazy one. All right. Good for Shane Doan, though. He might have a chance to win a cup there. Chris Drury to St. Louis. Rod Brind'Amour to the Rangers. All right. So Brind'Amour getting to go to a team that has Nikita Kucherov and Philip Forsberg. Brian Boyle to Nashville. He was there in real life for a little bit, I think. Ruslan Salado, Washington. Anything else? Not a lot of crazy guys getting signed so far here, but there is going to be some big names soon. Johnny Oduya gets a 5-year deal in New Jersey, so shout out to Johnny Oduya for securing a long-term contract. Brian Allen goes back to Vancouver, where obviously he started his career, 4-year deal. Aside from that, some other okay bottom 6 names. Pekka Rinne goes back to Nashville. So Pekka Rinne was a free agent goalie, but he decided to stay with the Nashville Predators on a 5-year deal. So shout out to him. And Ryan Suter has signed with the Colorado Avalanche on a 4-year deal. So he doesn't go to Minnesota to sign that crazy contract he did with Zach Parise, but he does go to Colorado. So shout out to Ryan Suter. Aside from that, Niskanen to Vancouver. Now we're getting to some of the bigger names. Kim Johnson going back to the Flyers where he started his career. Actually, no, the Rangers was where he started his career. But Fedor Tutin gets a 5-year deal in Washington. So Washington continues to be a good team. And they bring in another countryman for Ovechkin and also for Semin, I guess. So good on them, I guess. Brad Boyes gets a 5-year deal with the Preds. Aside from that, Gostad going back to Buffalo again. Matt Carle to Tampa, where he played briefly too. Grabowski went to New Jersey. Comrie to the Ducks. Ryan McDonough gets a 6-year deal out of arbitration. Lyles a 3-year deal in Columbus. Hue going back to Chicago again. Versteeg to Colorado. Clayton Stoner to Chicago. Pruka to Detroit. Wow, there's a lot of signings. Paul Ranger still in Tampa. Peter Regan going to Montreal is kind of weird. Fedotenko signs in Buffalo. So, yeah, Buffalo's just bringing in a ton of veterans. Kolyakova to Montreal. Mike Smith gets a 5-year deal in San Jose. So, shout out to Mike Smith. What else we got here? Not a lot of crazy names anymore, I don't think. Boschman in Vancouver, that's a pretty big addition for their defensive core. Tomo Rutu goes to the Phoenix Coyotes. Martin Brodeur did sign a 2-year deal with the New York Islanders. Well, Devils fans, how do you feel about Brodeur leaving to the Islanders? That's kind of a weird one. I think that's worse than St. Louis. Coburn gets a 6-year deal, though, in New Jersey. So with that money they save from losing Brodeur, they bring in Braden Coburn. Rob Blake signs in Ottawa. Mason Raymond signs in Florida. Sneaky little addition there. Kyle Quincy to Pittsburgh on a 6-year deal. Damn. Lombardi gets a 6-year deal with New Jersey as well. Derek Roy signs with the Rangers on a 4-year deal. That's actually kind of a sneaky contract, too. Because Derek Roy was an 88 overall. He is a playmaker as well, but he's likely going to be the centerman between Kucherov and Philip Forsberg. Likely. So that's a really solid addition. Matt Duchene gets a 7-year deal out of arbitration, and Tom Gilbert signs with Dallas. Mike Green signs with the Carolina Hurricanes, both of them getting 6-year deals. So Mike Green going from Washington to Carolina, so he stays in the Southeast Division, and then Tom Gilbert joins the Dallas Stars. All right, some pretty crazy movement there. Let's continue to simulate and see if Sam Gagner will accept some money, because I am just kind of tired about him right now. Like, I almost feel like just trading him away, but I don't think that's the right move for this organization right now. We just got to get him to get that organizational interest up if possible. Come on, Sam. Did I not offer you a new contract? I think I did, right? No, I guess I did not. Let's re-get into some negotiations again. Oh my goodness. I don't know why it takes so long to try and sign some people sometimes. Come on, Sam. Just a 1-year deal, $6 million bucks. I mean, I could give you even like $10 million bucks, but I need to get you to sign so I could see if I'm cap compliant. And he's still rejecting. Oh my goodness. Why do all these teammates get so happy about him getting a contract offer and then he just doesn't accept? He's literally being a locker room cancer almost at this point. Which is weird because Sam Gagner in real life I don't think is like that at all. Let's do a 1-year deal, give you $8 million. We're going to overpay on you. 8.8. Actually, you know what? Since you're number 89, I'll give you a 1-year deal, $8.9 million to match your jersey number. And you better freaking accept that, man. You better freaking accept it. You're literally just going to be here for 1 year. And we could think about maybe trading you away already this season. I don't really know. Or we could hold on to you long term if you decide that you actually want to be here. Can you please accept? Still rejecting. How is the money not enough? I've boosted the money and all that. Oh my goodness. This is one of the toughest RFA negotiations I think I've ever had. And yeah, damn. Damn. What if I gave you a 1-year deal again? I think it's just because that organizational interest is so low. What's the most I could give him for a year? Almost like 12 million bucks. Let's go with 9.4. I don't really know why he's rejecting, man. And he just had his birthday too, I guess, because he just changed from 22 to 23 years old. Oh my goodness. Come on, Sam. Please, man. It's just for a year. I don't know. I think this game might be glitched right now. Let's begin the sim up to next season and see if we could start negotiating with him maybe a bit on like September 1st. We are probably going to have our salary cap adjusted because of that. But I just don't understand right now what's going on. I just don't. It's kind of pissing me off too. So let's go done on this. And let's get Gagner under contract if he's willing to accept now. And if he's still not willing to accept, this is going to be a really tough thing for us. We might actually have to move out from him way earlier than anticipated. We're going to try again at your $8.9 million. Just because it's your jersey number. We're going to be nice and still try and offer you 8.9. And if you do not accept this, I honestly don't know what to do. I've never had a negotiation go on this long, really. Let's advance and see if he'll accept. We're almost coming up on the preseason, too. What does McPherson think about our team and our roster, even though we didn't even adjust it yet? Preseason focus. Let's just go... Oh, there's video sessions. I don't even see this. Team bonding. Huh. I didn't even see those ones goalie focused. Huh. Let's just go skill training on that. And season goal. We're probably not good enough to make the playoffs. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, we're not going to make the playoffs. Good stuff. All right, let's see if Sam accepts, because I am kind of a little pissed off at him. Because I feel like we should probably think about trading him away at this point. And he's still rejecting. And the preseason is almost about to start, so I can't even... I guess we're going to have to set up our lines without Sam Gagner in it pretty much right now and think about what we want to do for next episode. But this is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So goalies, it's going to be Dubnyk and Delory. AHL, it's going to be Grubauer and Tuomainen. Defensively, Petrie, Falk, Schmid, McQuaid, Spiza, O'Byrne, and we'll probably call up Chorney as the other one just because I don't want Safronov up here yet. I could call up Alex Plante, but we do have a lot of right D-men, so a left D-man probably makes more sense. So we'll call up Chorney as that 7th defenseman. Aside from that, we will go to right wingers here. Anybody that needs to be called up? Not really. Yeah, Leeson could play as a 75. I'm okay with that. No, nobody needs to be called up there. Centers. I mean, Cody Hodgson is probably ready to go. But I don't really have anybody that I could take. I mean, I could use Cogliano as a left winger, which means if I use him as a left winger, the odd man out might be like Redix. Odd man out might be Redix. Trying to think. Should I send down Redix and call up Hodgson? Burmistrov's not fully ready yet. Riley Nash actually should be still up here. Yeah, you know what? I should call up Riley Nash instead. Keep letting Hodgson and Burmistrov develop a bit. Oh my goodness. Okay, so so our lines are going to be a little bit wonky because of Sam Gagner. But it is probably for the best. We'll go with this. Oh, Nyquist could actually be higher too in the lineup too. So we'll go up here. Yeah, that's actually looking not that bad. Yeah, so that's Sam Gagner. It's okay actually. Like we could probably maybe move on from him already. But he is a young player, so it's hard to move out from a guy like that already at this point. Rhino Burn Scratch, that's okay. Yeah, we'll probably run something like this for our team, to be honest. I don't want Hagelin scratched. I probably should scratch Trevor Lewis instead, just because Trevor Lewis is already 25. I could use Trevor Lewis actually as a fourth line center and then use Riley Nash as that depth for, but it doesn't really matter too much, I guess. So let's get Hagelin in, and we'll move Hagelin up. Boychuk could go down. Yeah, we'll go with something like this for our lineup for the season if Gagner does not want to come back. I could also go Cameron's second line if we really want to, but might as well already give Cameron top line ice time this season if we can't get Gagner back. So that should be nice and ready to go. Power play should have some of the younger guys on it, right? Yep, Cameron is there. We got to put him down the middle since he's a better face-off guy. Second power play unit. Looks fine. I bet Marcoux on the first line PK, correct? Yes, he is. That's good. I want Marcoux on the PK, so that's all good and set up. AHL. Let's just go best lines for a second, see if anybody's scratched. Nobody is. AHL looks fine to me, too. There's a lot of guys that could be in the NHL in this lineup. We actually are missing a forward in the AHL. So we could sign a depth forward if we want to before next episode. But it's not a huge issue, maybe because not a huge prospect anyways. Yeah, AHL team should be decent this season. But I don't know what to do with friggin' Gagner, man. That's like the biggest looming issue. Because it would be nice to have him on our roster this season. If we go to free agents right now, is he the only RFA that's still holding out? No, there's a couple of them. There's still Jake Musson because Carolina doesn't have the cap space. And Nick Hjalmarsson. Probably Dallas doesn't have the cap space, my guess. And that's why. I'm not too sure. Huh. I got to check on Dallas and Carolina and see if they're cap compliant. Just to see if that's the main reason why they're not signing those guys. Dallas does not have the cap space for Hjalmarsson. And Carolina does not really have the cap space for Jake Muzzin either. So, kind of makes sense there. So, we're the only team that has cap space, but our RFA won't accept. If I go to the fine trade option, what could Sam Gagner fetch us? Or his rights? Marian Gaborik straight up. I don't really want Marian Gaborik on this team because we're trying to rebuild, but that's actually kind of hilarious. The Rangers want Gagner because he would play next to Kucherov and all that. I know for a fact. And yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. What if we just go open block? Still the Gagner offer. If we just go with our block, still the same thing. We have to probably address our block. Oh boy, Gagner does have good value, but I didn't think I'd want to move on from him before O'Sullivan, but this contract negotiation is kind of annoying. Because we only have till December the 1st to sign him, right? So, that's interesting. Can I take a look at teams' lines already? I don't remember if I can. Yes, I can. Maybe this is only the preseason lines, though. Maybe it's not. Okay, let's take a look at some team lines, just because we usually do this at the end of every offseason. So let's take a look at each team's line. So starting off with the Ducks, this is what they're looking like. Any new additions? I mean, like Dominic Moore and Shane Doan. Doan slots into the third line. Mikkel Bodker's there, too. I don't know how they got Bodker. Defensively, looks like this. Justin Schultz has made the NHL. Jack Hillen. Jake Gardner. Lubomir Visnovsky got scratched. Okay, I'm going to keep my face on the screen so you guys can see me react to shit like that. But goddamn, why are you scratching Visnovsky? Like, you're literally playing Sheldon Brookbank and stuff over him. Goddamn. Well, that's an interesting one. Atlanta, wow, they've gone through a lot of change. They have a pretty good-looking team in Atlanta. So the Winnipeg Jets, technically, at this point, looking decent going into the 2012-13 season. And then goalies like that. Scratch, boom. We head to Boston. They still look like a typical Boston team. Very well built up to. Alexander Giroux's in the NHL. Defensively, yeah, this Boston team looks really nice, actually. Danny Sabrin, the backup, though, behind Rask is kind of a strange choice. Buffalo. Vanek looks like he must be losing morale due to how Buffalo's been playing. But he's playing next to Waite and Pominville. Buffalo looks like a really weak team compared to Boston. Like, I can definitely see why they were so bad last season. God damn. Ryan Miller, Brent Johnson. Maybe I shouldn't have left morale on. I feel like morale's causing a big issue with this. Calgary looking like this. Pretty typical Flames team with some new additions. Not a great defensive core. I mean, solid top six pairing. Kiprusoff's dropping off and Dan LaCosta's the backup. Calgary's seen better days. Carolina is still looking good. I mean, Simone Gagne's dropped down to an 82 at 32. I don't know what's with the players dropping so much in overall. But shout out to Braden Shen for being on the second line center spot already. Huh. And there's Mike Green, who signed there as a free agent, of course. Getting a big term contract. Not a crazy amount of money, but Sam Gagner wouldn't accept more money than that, which is insane. Because Sam Gagner is nowhere near the player Mike Green is right now. Damn, Adam Foote and Jay Harrison as a second pairing? Ugh. Some of these teams are a little bit on the weak side right now, which is kind of weird. Chicago. I know Carolina was right up against the cap, too, so Chicago has a good team for being as close to the cap floor as they are. Or not cap floor, cap ceiling, I should say. But goddamn, there's some weird teams out there. Colorado's using Jokinen on the top line. Interesting choice. Defensively, they signed Ryan Suter. How much did he get? Not that bad, to be honest. Yeah, that's actually a pretty solid little contract. Not like his one in real life from back in these days. Antti Niemi's there. All right. Columbus, Nash, Olsen, and Voracek. That's an interesting top line. Teravainen, Zibanejad, Vermette. Looks like there's a solid youth movement in Columbus a bit. Like, Cam Atkinson will actually get the play next season. So that's probably why they didn't want to trade him to me in the offseason. David Savard is a scratch. Dallas still strong left wing side, not a strong center core. Alex Killorn has made the NHL in Dallas. Damn, I'm surprised he actually got that much development. Damn, he's looking interesting. He's looking interesting. Like, he's literally already an 85, which is pretty impressive. And they did sign Tom Gilbert, our former defenseman. He's getting more money than Mike Green, and he didn't even win the Norris. So shout out to Tom Gilbert. Did win a Stanley Cup last year in Detroit, though, so maybe that's why. But, damn. And Dallas is literally scratching their top defensive prospect. They just drafted 3rd overall because they signed Tom Gilbert. What are you even doing, Dallas? What are you even doing? I mean, this could be just for the preseason, but still. Detroit has seen better days. I mean, their center depth isn't as good as it used to be, but they do still have very good wingers. Defensive core, Rafalski's dropped off a lot, so that defensive core is not the same as it was when there was Lidstrom and Rafalski in their prime. Jimmy Howard's still there. Happy Bullen's still there. Milan Hayduk's a scratch. Oh, my God. I hate when I see good players scratched. Ales Hemsky, obviously top line in Florida now. How has Hemsky been since joining the Panthers? 65 points last year, so he did take a bit of a drop-off in point production. Did make the playoffs, though, so shout out to Ales Hemsky. They also did sign Raymond in the offseason and such. Man, some of these teams are really strange. If you guys see anything that I don't bring up, let me know, because I'm just kind of curious on what some of these teams have. The LA Kings, Smith, Kopitar, Brown still. This LA Kings team still looks pretty good. Like they could definitely win a cup. They have a good defensive core. And then the goaltending's good too. Yeah, they definitely could win a Stanley Cup in this universe. Minnesota. A typical Minnesota team with some new additions, I guess. Defensively, who is this Koshrin guy? Former 11th overall pick a year ago. That's an interesting addition next to Cam Barker. As Brent Burns has been moved down to the second pairing. Jaron Backstrom. Kind of weird goaltending. Montreal. Antti Mietinen's there now. Peter Regan's there now. Matt Fratton has made the NHL. I'm surprised that some of these guys are actually getting a chance. Unless it's just for the preseason, but damn. Defensively, Markov and Subban. Okay. Hanyu Toivonen in the backup behind Carey Price. That's a strange sight. Nashville. Looking pretty solid. A little bit of drop off because they are an older team. The best player being Ryan Callahan, it looks like. Defensive core, they were looking into Mike Green. They didn't sign him. But Yossi Weber is a fantastic top two, of course. Franson, Hamhuis, Sador, and Klein. Still good. So they didn't even really need Mike Green. Goaltending, Rene is back again. He signed a nice little contract. That's actually a pretty good contract for Pekka Rene. And it scratched Rob Schremp and Joel Ward. New Jersey, Kovalchuk top line with Lombardi and Zubras. All right, Parise. Eliash is literally a third-line guy at this point. It's actually kind of crazy, some of the overalls on these players. Like, I didn't expect players to drop off as hard as they have. I'm not too sure if it's due to the morale being on or what, but a lot of guys seem lower than I was anticipating for this point. The New York Islanders, Nugent Hopkins, Tavares, St. Louis. How did that line do last year? St. Louis had 66 points, was minus 28, though. He is dropping off already. John Tavares last season, 67 points. So a little bit of an increase, but still the Islanders look like they're having a tough time. And then Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 40 points in his rookie season, minus 39. So the plus-minus on the Islanders is pretty atrocious, I guess. But they are building up a solid team in the future. I mean, Thomas Hurdle's there now, too. So not too bad in terms of building up a good young team. And it did sign Martin Brodeur. I forgot about that. Who was playing with Rick DiPietro. 2 years at $7.1 million. That's actually a lot of money for a guy that's 40 years old. But Brodeur might be worth that type of money. Not the craziest results the last two seasons, but still, he's Marty Brodeur. Scratched Trent Hunter, Jason Garrison. The Rangers are using Kucherov now. Philip Forsberg is not in the NHL yet. That's kind of surprising, unless he's scratched, but I'm surprised that Philip Forsberg's not playing yet. Kucherov will be a third liner, which is kind of weird, behind Afanaganov and Gabrick, who is dropping off. It must be morale related, because he was higher when I think last season. But he's an 82 at 30. He should definitely be a lot higher than that. Very strange. Defensively, looks like a good young core. Lundqvist, of course. Yeah, it looks like Philip Forsberg might be in the AHL next season, which is kind of surprising for a former first overall pick. Ottawa, Landeskog, Spezza, and Kovalev. Alfie's dropping off a bit. Looks like a pretty typical Ottawa team with some new people. Zach Smith's playing with Craig Smith. That's kind of neat. They're not related, but still. Erik Karlsson on the second pairing. They should be playing him with Matthias Ekholm, but for some reason they signed Rob Blake, and Rob Blake's getting priority over EK65. And then goalie's Elliot Lindback. Mike Hoffman is scratched as an 85? What are you doing? He's 22 years old, man. I know you have a strong left wing core, but literally use him in a different position or something. Like, goddamn. Philly, looking still good. Young Mark Scheifele in the top six. Wow, Hartnell is a third-line guy. Philly's still a threat. They have Mark Stone literally on their teams, too. God damn. Yeah, some of these teams are very, very strange in how they're constructed. I'm not going to try and criticize the AI that much, but kind of hard with some of these decisions, you know. The Oats don't look very good at this point. Defensively, I mean, it's an okay defensive core. Goalies are solid, I guess. OEL is scratched. Why are you scratching a young defenseman, man? Unless it's just for the preseason, but goddamn. Like typical Pittsburgh team. Gonchar's dropping off a lot. He's 38 now. Letang's up to a 91, which is crazy. Fleury, alright. Leopold X will be Brodin. Damn, a lot of teams are scratching their young players. San Jose looks really good still. San Jose definitely could win a cup soon. I would not be surprised. Dan Boyle has dropped off a lot, though. Like, that defense score is definitely not as strong as it used to be. And then Mike Smith now, the starting goalie, as Nabokov has dropped down to a 77. So that's why they brought in Mike Smith, who spent the last 3 years in Tampa, made the playoffs 1 year, and was not very good. Typical Mike Smith. Fabian Brunstrom, interesting there. St. Louis, Tyler Sagan's their top line center. It's looking like actually a decent St. Louis Blues team. They did just draft this Festorini guy too, so they're building up a nice little core. Defensive core, Sheldon Suarez there now, of course, our former defenseman after some time in Anaheim. So that's neat. How much is he getting? Only 3.3 for a year. Not bad. Playing with Alex Pietrangelo. Goalies, Bishop and Halak. So they traded for Halak from Montreal, but now they have Ben Bishop to worry about. And he's a pending UFA, I think, maybe. So I'm not too sure what's going to go on with their goalie situation, but Ben Bishop is now there too. From the AHL. Tampa, I mean, Stamkos is getting a lot of growth as you'd expect. 94 overall now at this point in time. Nikita Gusev has already made the NHL potentially, unless it's for the preseason. Same with Richard Panik. Damn. Defensively, Hedman's there. Who did they replace Smith with? Josh Harding and Chad Johnson. God damn. Every team needs a Chad. Toronto's been a weird team too. They now have a top line of Hall, Connolly, and Kessel. And then they have a second line of Radulov, Bozak, and Kuhlman. Johnny Gaudreau's on their fourth line. So Toronto is actually rebuilded relatively fast in this, which is not what I was expecting because their roster in the beginning was very, very bad. But they've surrounded some of their team with some really good players. Like Adam Henrique's only 22. Bozak is only 26. You have Kadri, who's 21. Gaudreau, who's 19. Radulov, who's 26. Kuhlman's 26. Hall's 20. Colley's obviously a bit older. Same with Kessel. Actually, Kessel's only 24. And you don't need a writer even there, too, as a 20-year-old. Like, they definitely have a team that could be good. They made the playoffs last year, too, so surprised on the Leafs for actually doing stuff at this point. Craig Anderson being there is very strange, though. All right, what about Vancouver? The Sedins and Kessler still. Sergei Fedorov's now a Canuck. He was in San Jose the last 3 years. Surprised he hasn't retired yet. All right, Jaden Schwartz making the team. Defensively, Giordano, Niskanen, who they both signed. Their defensive core is actually really good. Goaltending, Luongo and Schneider still. And then finally, the Washington Capitals, who have won 2 cups so far. Very good top line. Second line, solid. Mikhail Samuelson's not that great anymore. Yeah, this is a really, really weird roster at this point for the entire league. Like, I don't really know what to make of these teams. Like, Holtby is technically ready to take Varlamov's job as a starter in Washington now. So, will be interesting to see what teams do in terms of movement down the road, but very interesting league at this point. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll start up the 2012-13 NHL season, and we'll see how good this team does. Hopefully, we could find a way to have our young guys simulate good and get Sam Gagner under contract. Because if we can't find a way to get him under contract, we might actually have to think about trading him potentially. So let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.